we are in new session of the day. As we discussed in our previous session, we are using the API calls without a model. In that session, what we have done with bindings, simple binding techniques, and how we can fetch the data without a model in that cases, and also few things we have learned on that. So now, as our goal is to cover that MVVM approaches. So before that, we need to check that how we can fetch the data with the model. Then we see the view model, and then we fetch it using the MVVM approaches. So here, the first thing we have to learn that is called the decodable. That is very important, and then we learn encodable, and then see the codable. So once it's done, we can check it one by one. Means whatever the things we using for that API calls, and how we can fetch all the data and how we can make it. So a lot of things be there. We'll see one by one. Learn the decodable. It's so easy, as we know that whenever you work with the JSON data, so it's a protocol allows you to convert data from an external format into the instances of your custom Swift types. Means you have to convert that JSON into the model. So whatever with the model you have defined, according to the JSON, you just convert that JSON into the form of that model. That's very simple. So here we have a JSON decoder to decode these things, and for the encodable, so for this we need a encodable protocols. It means whatever be your model, you have to convert it into the JSON data. Sometimes we need to encode the things to pass the data, so that's also be the very easy, and we'll see in Xcode. So these two things, and if you want that, the better thing is that don't call it separately, that I will describe you why, and then on that cases we need to make it as a codable. So that means it is a combining of encodable and decodable. So better whatever be the your code, you just make it codable and make it convert it on a both encoding and decoding whenever you want that. Okay, so these three things we will discuss, then see a lot of things be there. So first we'll see these things is not practically. So let's see the practical for the decoding. So for this, first we need to create a model for that. So we can go for the model. We can say that struct employee, and for this employee, what we need to do, it means we need to convert that JSON in the form of that our model. That's called your decode for this. So this is your int, let I'm giving the name, that is the string, and I'm giving the email also, that's also with the string. And if you go with that imply, we need a decodable, so we can use it as a decodable. So that's the first point. We need it because of we need to create the JSON. So, and the secondly, that you have to make a practice that whenever you create a function, it's good, because of otherwise if you go inside the view, many times it will create that the issues of the rendering problem for that, because of this section is for the view only. Okay, so keep in mind that it's a good practice. You can make your functions separately for this. Okay, so let's see, first we create a function for a decodable. Okay, then we needed that one value, that is the func decode, and I'm just giving the decode a string, that we have created the function for this, that's arrow, and we make it as a string response function. Okay, so here we have to return, at this time returning any empty array. Okay, so that is a kind of function, then you call it here inside it. Okay, so now under that function, first we need to create a one JSON. So that means once that JSON we created, we return that in the kind of we decode it, and decodable value be converted into that whatever be the employee detail. Okay, so let's create this function. We have to return this as string. That means we have to call here. So for that, what to do, you just say that this is the your decode string, and we need to return something like you can say that slash, and then you have to call this is your decode string. Okay, so that means here you have to call this function value. Means if you have a name Vishal, so you can see that it comes there. Okay, so for that, what to do, we need to return that decoded value of the name, whatever be the string we are using, we will implement. So that's come here. Okay, so that's we need to do. So for that, first we need to create one simple JSON for this. Okay, and you know that the JSON, how we can call that JSON in Swift. So for that, you can see that triple quotes we need it, and then to close this we need triple quotes. Okay, so inside this, what to do, you just make it the curly brackets, and here I am making one string, that is the ID, and it is 1. I'm not taking the UUID at this time. We'll show you how to do that. This is the name, and I'm using the name Vishal JSON name. Okay, so as you can see the difference there, because of here at this time we are using the Vishal. Okay, and here this is this is email, and I'm just taking that the abc at gmail.com. okay, so this is I'm using, but for that we need to make it a JSON. So say that let JSON is equals to these things. Okay, so that's the way you can create a JSON. It's showing that okay, so this is our JSON ready, and now once the JSON is ready, what to do, we have to make a JSON data, that means which is using that UTF-8 codes. Okay, so that is the standard one. So I'm just using the JSON data, and that should be your JSON dot data. Okay, and using UTF-8. That's very simple. Once this done, you can go for that let. I'm just making the one thing, that is the username. If you want more, means whatever you want, you just take it and make the concatenation. But here I'm giving very simple example. Okay, so here whatever the decodable structure for the model we have done, that is the employee, and it is the self one. So for this, what to do, you just make it try, and that should be a JSON decoder dot decode, and it is your employee dot self. Okay, and here we have our data, so that means your JSON data we are using. So once that username be the ready, so it means we have to return that JSON data on that value. Okay, so okay, so for this, what to do, you just give it the return name here, user name dot name. So we are passing, or we are giving the name to that. Okay, so that's the way you can see that. Or here you can see it is a Vishal JSON name. So means whatever be your JSON be, you just make the decodable and you can use it. But this is the special where we need only the decode things. Okay, so same we can do the vice versa. That means if you need data, if you have any model and you want to make that JSON data, so that means you need encodable. So here we can use the encodable on that time. And the last one is that is codable. That the best practice is you can go for the codable, means whenever you need the recording you can use it, whenever you need the encoding you can implement it. But I will show you how you can encodable also, how you make it. Okay, so let's see. So let's see the encoding, how we can encode the string. So you can use the encodable also, but I will show you one more. So this is your struct and I'm making the product, and this is your encodable. Okay, so I think that these are the old approaches, but I will describe you each and everything so you can learn it. um, Products, okay, yeah, so you can learn it how we can do separate decodable and encodables. Okay, so here first we'll create this let uh, name of the product, it should be a string, and cost of the product, and it should be, I'm picking the int now for. Okay, so this is a very simple. And once the products be done we have to create one more function here, that is encode string. So for encoding again we need to return that string, and that string should be return any value. Okay, so this to be done. And now we have to call in one more text, so we can use a v stack, and under the v stack we use it here, and this is encode string. Okay, so this to be we have under the body, and once we have done the encode string we'll see the return values for that. Okay, so for this I need to pass it from the model to, and we have to create the JSON, that is the vice versa of the decodable. Okay, so we create it. So for encode string first we need to make products from the models, so say the my products, and you can go for that products name and cost. Okay, so here I'm giving the name t-shirts or whatever you want, and the cost is 200. Okay, so once it's done that means the products be ready, and then we need to make the encoder. So you just give it a JSON encoder, just simple, and here we need to make it the JSON encoder dot output formatting, that is that should be a dot pretty printed. I think that is define line for output for formatting always. So I will describe you why we need it, but you can just put it at this time. And now we have to go for the data, and it should be a try, and encoder we have dot we have to encode that value, so that is my products, that means it's make our data. So once the data is ready you just simply say that if let string data is is a string, and this is your data column, whatever we our data we are using, and encoding its utf-8, that's the same whatever we have done that. Okay, So if that be there and it exists, then we have to uh, return that string data, and here this we need to remove, else condition we have, you can pass it return no data. That's simple. So this is a very simple way you have to give it to the response of the string data. Okay, and here you have to call the same like as we have done previously, that is your encode string. So we'll see that you can see that it has become your name t-shirt and cost 200. So this is your encodable and this is your decodable. So these two be you can build it under the one, you just make your model be as codable. So now you need to make the good practice for the codable. I will give the example for this. So this is just I just clear the picture for everyone that the decodable and codable separations, okay, for the new ones, so they can understand how we can uh, update it or change it like this. So let's see the codable. For codable, what to do? Nothing, just as we have done with the decodable and codable separately. So codable means both the operations we can do at the same time. So that means codable is equals to your encodable plus decodable. It's very simple. So here whatever be the data we are using here, we can just make it codable, and you can see that this is the codable. So if you want to make a separate structure for the codable, so you can do the same operation in a one function. Okay, so it is the same just like we have done with the decode and we have done with the encode. So means this data and this data you can do it in a one function in which you want to make it decodable and encodable. That's very simple. Okay, so here it gives the same result to you. So it's very easy, and you need a best practice. So always make codable. So as we are going with the series of the API and fetching the data, and as we have done with the last time, so we follow the same, but in the future whenever I call this, that means we can convert that into that decode, we can convert it into the encode, means we doing the operation, both the operations, if our requirement be there. Okay, so now next is how we can create a simple view model from the model. That's our next discussion. So let's see. So let's talk about the MVVM, and as we know that the simple MVVM approach is it's your model view model, and it is a software architecture pattern usually commonly in every platform. Like if you go with the Android, if you go with your Swift UI, so and also in .NET, everywhere this MVVM approaches nowadays become a very good architecture. And here if you're talking about the Swift UI, so that's as we say that there's a clear separation of a concern. Okay, and before, I think before 2-3 years back, I have created the video for MVVM androids. So the same thing, if you want to go with that, because of the theoretical part is very similar, so you can read that, you can watch that also. It's a very great, and also I put it the one PDF for that, so you can read from there. And here if you go with this the same approaches I'm using here, so the model view model, and we know that the model, as we have done with the model, and we have created the model, and also we use the codable, decodable and codable there and here. So that means it is represent the data business logics of the application, very simple line. view, that means whatever you want to show, that is the view and UI. And view model, that means it is the inner layers, that means which interact with your model and repository and make it separation, means whatever with the calculations or whatever be anything, any functionality, anything we need to do it, we we have to work with the view model. Because of, if you go with the view and inside the view if you doing the programming of the lot of functions, so unnecessary you make your pages heavy, your app heavy. So that is not a good working of, we can say the good approach of working or a coding. So we need to do it separation. So this is the model which we can, I mean view model, that means which can separate out. And here we need to learn that few things with there, as we have done with the state, we have done with the binding. So here you need to understand what is the observed object, what is the state object. First two things, environment I will discuss later. So here data binding, that is most important. Separation of concern, as I told you, whatever is the functionality you have to do, you will put it inside your view model, and view is very separate. And rest model interact with the view model, and also view model interact with your repository, means from the API side whatever you want the data, you can fetch it inside the view model, and that view model you have to call in your view. That is the way. So we can use this reusability because of our repositories are different, our view model are different, our view are different. So it means once you do done the code, you can reuse that. Okay. And here is a simple example of, this is a view, this is data binding, presentation, and this is a view model, and the model is the business logic. And one thing here missing, that is view model interacts with the repository. Okay, so that I will discuss on the second video of this MVVM approaches. But first you need to learn here the simple MVVM concern. Okay, so I think this is the separations. If done, we go with the simple bindings. So let's see what is the observe object and what is the state object. Okay, so before we understand how we can work with the APIs and how we can call the APIs in Swift UIs, so better we can understand the protocols, few protocols. One of them is observable object. So now it will be updated, but we have to understand the first thing is this, I mean how we can call, how we can emit, and how we can use the published in it. So lot of things we need to start from the scratch, and what updates come in Swift UI for this, so that's also will understand. So first we need to understand observable. So what is the meaning of that? That means it is a type of object with a publisher that emits before the object has changed. Okay, so whenever we call the APIs, so not only the state will work, because of we need to use those for, or we need to pass those for the other views. So that means whenever we call the APIs, we need to use this observable object first, and whenever we use this observable, we need to use the published. Okay, this annotation we need it. But why we need it? So before first we understand published. Okay, for published, it is a property wrapper in a Swift UI, that is to create observable properties within the classes that confirms the observable object protocols. So when a property is marked with this, any changes to its value will automatically trigger updates in Swift UI. Okay, so whenever we do the updations using the APIs, whenever we need to add, update records and get this, so those things we need it. So we can use this published value properties, and we need a observable object, means whenever use the observable object, the published also need required for that. And more things we required on that case, but I will describe you one by one. So first we understand this simple observable object and the published, how we can use these two with the APIs. Then we will update for that. Okay, we have a state object, we have a observable object, we have a environment object, lot of things be there, but how we can use them, that is the important part. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so as we're discussing about the published and observable objects, so one thing in our mind that why we have already a state, so why we not, why we not use here. So because of the state is for a simple local state as I described you before, and only we can manipulate this kind of things whenever we use a single view. But when we use the observable object, we need a publish on that cases. Okay, so the state manages transits UI states like a we can say that events of the buttons, or means whenever you need a API calls, where we need a MVVM approaches, then we use it. But now we are using the observable also, because of that is a replacement of the observable object. But we need to understand this observable object to clear your concept on that. So the simple state is used local state variables belong to a single Swift UI view, while whenever we use the observable object protocols, we follow it. That means we need a publish on that cases. Okay, so that means for the multiple views, whenever we use the MVVM, we are using this. That's simple scenario. And now as I told you, the replacement is observable for that observable object, so it is depreciated, but only we are discussing about that and we used. But how we can use this observable, that means here they provide few changes, like we are using the less codes and lot of things be there. But when we discuss about the observable on the next time, then we will discuss this observable and how we can implement the APIs, that we'll discuss. Okay, and but here the state object also be the point to understand it. Let's understand the state object. So it is a property wrapper in the Swift UI design for the managing the lifecycle of reference type data models within a view. So as we are using the MVVM approaches, we'll describe you how we can use them. So before that, we are understanding all kind of objects. So that is the state object is one of them, and the state object ensure that the instance of your observable object is created only once when the view is initialized and persist for the lifetime. So if you want to fix that, that means on the complete lifetime or complete life cycle, if we need to use that and across the views that it will be updated or redraws, so that means it will be the same or persist. So that means we can use it to prevent the object from being reinitialized and losing its states when the view body's properties re-evaluated. We use the okay. So the class you use the state object must conform to the observable object protocol also. So we can use them like that. Like if you have an example, I will describe you in practically. That means as I described you previously, but here we are making the models also, so you can understand it. I will describe you on Xcode. Okay, so that is the important part whenever we use it. Okay, so let's start with the view model here, and for this first we need to create a model, then we call that model with inside the view model, and that view model in your views. That's very simple strategy. But if you want to create a model inside the group, so you can do that. But now for now at first level, I'm creating the model here in the same view file. So later when we discuss about the API calls, we'll create a separate folder. We'll describe you how we can separation we work on the separation of layer on that time. Okay, so for this you can just create a struct emp model, and that is your codable. Okay, and here let id and it's your int, and let name it's your string. Okay, so these two things I'm creating for the EMP model, and for this EMP model we have to create a separate view model. So for this you have to create a one group here that is called view model, and that view model, inside that we have to create one file, and that should be a simple swift file. Okay, I'm not creating any view on that part, and I'm giving the name EMP view model. That's simple. Okay, so the two things be ready. One is a simple model and the other is a employee view model class inside that group. Okay, so default it is foundation. Okay, so default it is a import foundation, and we have to create our view model inside it. So first we create a class EMP view model, and as we discussed that we need a observable object. Okay, so we have to follow the protocol, and the protocol should be that at published we need to make it as, and where this is your employee, and whatever your model you can suggest to this here. So our model name is EMP model. Okay, and for the CMP model, first at a start level I'm making it nil. So that's a simple structure of the observable object. Now we have to create one function. Due to that we have to call and see the view. So this is our load JSON. So at this time I'm making our JSON, and rest will do it with the API, and we'll call with your repositories. Okay, so this is the, because of we learning on the learning phase, we just interact about the, I mean giving the interactions in between the model and the view model. So we'll see that how we can call and how to show the view. Okay, so this is a simple published where employee model, and that be then, and here as we done previously, we just create one JSON with the triple quotes and then triple quotes with ending. Okay, and now you have to create one ID. So the name should be the same as it given in the our models. Okay, so this is our ID and one, and I'm giving the name, and it should be Vishal test, only test we can. Okay, so this is simple, and here if you see, yeah, it is, sorry, ID is a small, so we can make it as a small ID. Okay, so the name be same, otherwise the typecast error be there. So these things be done. You have to create one JSON data, and as we know that which kind of JSON we need it, so you can go for the JSON dot data and using point UTF-8. Okay, as we have done before. Okay, so now we have to convert that in a model, that JSON values. So that means we have to decode it. So let's see how to do as we have done before. This you just say that this is your self dot employee, and then we have to decode it. So for this you need try JSON decoder dot decode, and this is your EMP model dot self, and from whatever be your JSON data. So that means it can convert to your model. These things, this is simple. And what it needed, okay. Okay, so now we have to call this load JSON into the employee view. So what to do for this, you just go for a one V stack we are taking, because of in the future I will describe you how you can access the multiple tags there and list there. Okay, so this is your simple text we have. And for this text, that means for to render the name of whatever you call it, so that means we need to make it our view holder call here. And I think I already described you the state object. So at this time what to do, you just go for your state object, not a state, because of state can access a single page, and while state object you can hold whatever be your data in your whole project, so you can get access anywhere. So this is your private where emp view model, and that is equals to your emp view model. That's simple. Okay, so this is your state object, that should be a complete model here. Okay, and once this emp view model you have created, you can go with this if let emp, and whatever be the object you want to go, you can say that emp view model dot employee, and that employee should be whatever you want to access it here. And once it's done, you can say that emp dot name. Okay, you can call whatever be your whatever be your model you can want to access the things we have. It's simple. And here the v stack, and then we can use the task, the two things you have to remember. Okay, so here this is your simple emp view model dot, this is load JSON. Okay, so many doing this init call be here, and then we can use the load JSON here. So that's with the wrong. So whatever you are making your functions here, you can call it there, but I will describe you more about that when you create a repositories and call these models be there. So this is the very simple structures we are using. You the more about it, how you can call it in the right approaches. So once you done with your task here, and better as we describe you when you will call with the API. So at this time you are using your own, but in the future how we can make it the final one. So this is your async, and under that you can go with this code, and the same you can do it with your the API approaches. Okay, so this thing is done, and load JSON you have to make it as an async, and because of here there are a lot of data, so you can use it accordingly. Okay, so this is your await. So this is the right approaches when you are doing the things, and you can call your API, and you can call your view model here. So that's very simple. First you have to create your simple model, whatever be the emp model we have, then on based of that model you have to create your emp view model with observable, and I will describe you only the observable in the future. And once it's done, you can decode it and call it under the main queue, and once this done, you can call it with your await, or you can call it on your button click, whatever you want. Simple. It showing you whatever you want that we shall test. So it is our model, and we have done with this we shall test. Okay, and here one more thing, that if any issue, like sometimes as we provided the ID as a double quote, so it's a wrong one, because of we need to make it as a integer, as we have provided the employee view as an integer. Okay, so if you want to go with your emails also, so let's see, this is your email, and we are making it as a nice string, and under the JSON we are making it as a email, whatever be it is, abc@gmail.com. And if you want to show it in a one more text, two things you can write it here. And like this you can call the single values. But what happen if you want to go with the list, means I want to print a complete list as in a model. Okay, so that means inside, uh, beside this JSON I need to make an array JSON. Okay, so how we can do that? So let's see. With the JSON array, so for this what to do, you have to create one JSON array and say the JSON ARR, that is triple quotes, and again we have close this, and under the bracket you just copy and paste 2 or 3 times, so it become your array. Okay, and on this I will make it 1 2 3, and also you can make your model identifiable, so do not we have to give this IDs. So just this is your test 1, sorry 2, this is 3, and this is 1. These are ABC1, ABC2, and ABC3. So just we have to check this is the our array. It's simple. And here for now I comment it, and here I'm using the JSON array. And here one more thing you need, it's required that whenever you go with the array you need to make it published, where I'm giving the employees, and this is your model B as an array. Okay, so emp model, and it is a blank default. Okay, and then once it's done you have to call this model be like array. So simple. Okay, so here you can see that this is employees. So your JSON should be in a form of employees, this one, and this is your model with the array, and you are using this simple model with the array that be decoded into form of whatever be your JSON data, and it should be JSON array conversion. So once it's done, let we call in the list in employee view. Okay, so let's talk about the list. First you have to comment on whatever we have done, and now we have to create a list here that be the response of this body. Okay, so once it's done you can call this your emp view model dot employees. At this time you have to call the employees. Okay, so for this we have this data for the employees, as in we are this getting the JSON array. Okay, and once it's done, that means your employees be here. So you are making a employee in vstack, and it should be a text, and we are showing each and every name. So this is your name. Okay, and here you are giving the task, and the code is the same as we have done previously. So you are calling this task here as emp model load JSON. Okay, and okay, so one more thing, that because of it showing that you have to create your model be identifiable. That is important because of whenever you work with the array. So at that time, either you use this id or make it as a UUID. Okay, it depends, whatever be your requirement. So this is a simple array we are talking about. So we have done with the simple JSON with the object, one object, and also we have done with the JSON on array. Okay, let me refresh this page and let's see what happened. We have an array, and as well as we have done previous with a simple object here. So both we achieved today, and it's a very simple approach how we can use the view model in Swift UI using the simple model. That's the simple structure of your view model. Whenever you work with this, so you can create like that. And on our next session, what we'll do, that means on the next we will call it with the API, and we will discuss more about the MVVM, how you can make a repositories, how we can make a how we'll do the suppression of layers. So a lot of things with there. So we'll do it on the next sessions. Thank you.